joining us is someone that I love watching on television. It's the first time I'm getting to see her. Well, it's not in person because she was still virtual, but she just always had so much fierceness and joy on. And when she left, I was like, where is she? Why isn't she on TV all the time? We need more people like you on TV, less of the other kind of people. Let me welcome. She's the author. She's an author, creator, doing all of the things. Let me welcome the good enough mother, René Syler. Hi.
Hi. Oh my gosh. I can't believe we haven't actually been in the room together at some point in our careers, but here we are.
We are here. Well, I'm antisocial, so that's my fault that we haven't been in the same room. I tend to not be in those rooms, but your journey to get there in that space, being who you are, where you're from, I always wondered, it's like I grew up watching Rolanda Watts, and when she had the finger waves in New York, we were like, she got finger waves. You better come on through, Rolanda Watts. I love watching her locally and then seeing you nationally. What was that journey?
I was a local news anchor for many, many, many years. And I grew up in Sacramento, California, but then I became a local news anchor, and I went from Reno, Nevada was my first TV gig. And then I went on to Birmingham, Dallas, and then I got tagged to come to the network. And that's probably where you first had seen me, unless you were in Dallas. But I was at the early show on CBS, and I was there part of that 4 anchor group with Julie Chen and Harry Smith and Hannah Storm. And I was there for about 4 years. And then I started having some health challenges, and I ended up deciding to have a preventive mastectomy. My mother and father both had breast cancer. And so when you have 2 first-degree relatives with breast cancer, doctors are a little bit concerned about that. And so I ended up telling them I was going to have this preventive mastectomy. And unbeknownst to me, as I was telling them this, they were getting ready to make a big change on the morning show. And that change did not include me. And so as I told them this, I was fired in December of 2006. And then in 2007, January, I had my preventive mastectomy.
I'm so pissed off about that right now. How do you, first of all, fire someone who's the only reason why I tuned in, number one, but then someone who was, and I remember that journey that you were on, because to have a mother and a father with breast cancer makes you rarely susceptible genetically. So yes. You like double, something that, I think Angelina Jolie did as well. I think to make that decision, was it a difficult one? I'm sure it was.
I've been a big believer in doing what we can do to preserve our health, whatever that is. If it's keeping your weight in the proper range, if you have diabetes, making sure that's controlled, not drinking, whatever it is that you can do to try to keep your health as good as possible, I'm a big believer in. And so even though, and I had genetic testing, but I didn't have the BRCA gene per se, but I still, when you have 2 first-degree relatives, like you said, doctors are a little bit like, that's really weird. And especially male breast cancer, which tends to have a genetic component. My mother was over 60, and she was just one of the 1 in 9 women who gets breast cancer. But my father was the one that they were like, yeah, we need to take a closer look. And I was having multiple biopsies through all of this. I'd have my mammogram every year, and then that would be followed by a biopsy. And pretty soon I was missing so much breast tissue that I just was like, this is not how I pictured my life. And so then I started examining the preventive mastectomy angle.
Did anyone in your family have the BRCA gene?
No. And what's interesting about the BRCA gene, I'm glad you asked about this, because the BRCA gene there are only 2 genes that we know of right now conclusively that are affiliated with breast cancer and ovarian cancer. And those are BRCA1 and BRCA2. But they believe there are many more. We just haven't come across those yet. And what was difficult for me is that there were not enough Black women in the pool for them to be able to figure out what my DNA meant. There was no control group. And so it was really important for us it is really important for us to get into more medical testing and more trials, clinical trials, so that doesn't happen to other people.
We were just talking about this yesterday, as a matter of fact, and I was saying that, for a lot of things, where I think we're 2 times more likely. Well, we're in all of the categories, but we don't trust the government or the medical field, and we have a reason. So when you tell Black people to go into a testing situation or go into a clinical trial, we're like, nah, we're good. We're not trying to leave our organs. We're not trying to be an organ donor because we're like, are you killing me because you want my liver, my kidney, my heart? We're good.
Yeah, we don't.
So it's tough.
This country does not have a good history, as we know. I mean, if you go back and you look at, the father of modern gynecology experimented on a Black woman. We know the Henrietta Lacks story. We obviously Tuskegee. I mean, we do not have a good track record in this country, but there's also, I believe that we need to ask questions. We need to think about how does this help not just me, but the people behind me and the generations behind me. And so it was important for me to donate my data so that somebody coming up behind me may not have had to wait 10 years to find out that their gene didn't mean anything like I had to.
René Syler is here. She is the author of Good Enough Mother, and you go to goodenoughmother.com and see all of the goodness.
So
you go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tonya.
Why the Good Enough Mother? I read your history and I wanted to know, what does that mean? Why was that your brand?
So I have always been what I felt like was good enough. I was a good enough student. I was a good enough. But when it came to motherhood, I think that what happens is that we as women got to this place where we felt like everything had to be perfect. And it was, remember, Pinterest parenting. And these parents are making, I don't know if you guys have ever seen these bento boxes that people make for their kids and lunch. And I'm like, really? I mean, my kids are lucky to get out of the house with a peanut butter and jelly or banana, sandwich or whatever. I wrote it because I had so many women who were in my life and who were talking about trying to provide these perfect childhoods for their kids, and then self-flagellating when they weren't perfect, when something went wrong. And I was thinking, my job as a parent is not to keep my kids from being disappointed. It's to protect them. It's to teach them how to deal with disappointment, not to protect them from, because it will happen. But my job is to teach them how to deal with it, not to keep it from them. And also just because all these people came crashing into my life, these 2 lovely children who are now 24 and almost 26, it's like, why not? They're doing fine. And I just felt like I don't have to sacrifice and be a martyr just because I had these kids. I was René Syler for many, many years. I was René Syler after they were born. I'll be René Syler after they leave the house and they're gone on to their lives. And so I didn't understand that whole idea of grinding yourself into dust for your children. I just didn't get it.
I think people do it not for the children, but for what people.
Bingo.
We had this conversation yesterday. Drew McCaskill, who is, part of our family here, was talking about his parents. And you have a chapter on, being a mother to your mother. But, he's now taking care of his mom, has Alzheimer's. His father just, had a health crisis. He said, if love was the cure, if love could cure them, we have enough. But we are not equipped to do all of the things. And I think we beat ourselves up, but it's all about what it looks like. We put our parents in a facility. Somehow we're not good children. If we are not doing all of the perfect things, someone's going to judge us. We're in this social media space where everything is examined. Everybody has an opinion about your life as if they have a right to, and we're all on an individual journey. So I think we should give each other grace, mind our damn businesses, mind our business. And, and the horrible parents, there are some horrible parents out there. Some of y'all are listening. There are some horrible parents, but that's something you're going to have to deal with, But
you know what? You're 100% right, Karen. Here's the thing. I said, you've got to parent for the people inside your house. you can't parent for the neighbors and your mother-in-law and Pinterest and Instagram and all that. I had 2 kids. I had to be the best mother to these 2 kids, not everybody else. And trust, that was hard, just being a good mother to them. But yeah, you're 100% right.
You came in telling us today's your 4-month break from, is it a break or have you completely said no more?
My soberversary. Yeah, is it a break? That's a good question. So you're talking about 4 months ago, I had my last alcoholic drink.
What was it, by the way? What was it?
It was wine, white wine. I was a big wine drinker. I love Sauvignon Blanc. Love. But in October, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And after having a pity party for about 2 months, I decided I needed to make some changes. And I needed to sort of be an active participant in my own health instead of just sort of being pushed along on the river of life. And so in December, I made a decision. I said, I'm really not happy with the amount of alcohol I was drinking. I didn't hit a rock bottom. I didn't have DUIs. I didn't have any of that. But I didn't feel comfortable with the direction I was going. I didn't feel that I was drinking in a way that I could continue on for the rest of my life. I just wasn't, my skin was dull, my hair was dull, everything just wasn't working. And I got to this point where I felt like I'm at an age now, I just turned 59, where everything needs to work for me, not against me. And that's when I decided I wanted to give up alcohol. Now my father was an alcoholic. I don't really, to myself, I don't traffic in labels, so I don't really call myself an alcoholic, but I will say that I wasn't really feeling it and I was ready to sort of give it up. So yeah, I am, and I love it. I feel great.
Well, I was going to say, your skin looks flawless, by the way. It looks flawless.
I didn't even have any makeup on.
You better come on through. You better come on through 59, not cracking. Yes. That's all I'm saying, René Syler.